The show focused on delivering beneficial information on everything to do with products and services that can improve your life. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.
Nobody wants to think about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody protects you. They may keep going.
Welcome back to Key Pacific's Talk About Strata. I'm Sterling Fox, joined by Tony Gioventu from the Vancouver province and the Condominium Homeowners Association of British Columbia, where he reigns as executive director. Tony and I also big fans of the New Zealand band Crowded House, and we appreciate that musical moment courtesy of Tony. We're talking insurance on this edition of Talk About Strata. Tony, how does the Strata company or the Strata Council know or determine how much to insure for?
That's practically one of the best questions asked, because strata corporations are can frequently be underinsured. The strata has to insure for full replacement value. That's what the legislation says. And full replacement value means that if the building was destroyed today, or a part of it was destroyed today, it would have to be insured for the cost of reconstructing those areas that were destroyed today, in today's dollars. And how they do that is they get an appraisal. There are appraisal companies all across the province. The strata commissions an appraisal every 2 to 3 years, depending on the rate of inflation, changes to the strata, what the conditions may be for cost. That appraisal then sets the values of what the current market cost is. And it contemplates other things too. It contemplates things like, if the building had a substantial level of damage and had to be rebuilt, would there be code upgrades required for that building?
Oh, okay.
Would there be material changes? Are the materials that you use then no longer available? What are they available? What's the replacement for those
Or are
today?
they frowned upon now? They're no longer
permitted, right?
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons. So that appraisal has to be done. The appraisal is provided to the insurance company. It's the Strata Corporation who commissions the appraisal independently, and they should always confirm with their broker that the appraisal and the terms of the appraisal or the values are satisfactory to meet the conditions of the Act for full replacement value.
I should probably have asked you this question in the first 30 seconds of this broadcast, but as a Strata member, my little apartment in this giant building, are my portion of the insurance fees covered in my strata fees as my portion of the property taxes are?
Exactly. Your strata insurance is a common expense. And even the deductibles are a common expense. So when that deductible first comes into the Strata Corporation pays it. They then, in turn, can turn around and try and collect it from an owner, or if that owner's been responsible for the claim, as in the case of Brenda as a result of her washing machine.
Okay.
Right? And so these are all common expenses that are part of the annual budget. And they're common expenses based on the, your unit entitlement, which generally is the size of your strata lot, and those types of related liabilities. So knowing what the appraised values are with respects to reconstruction or construction costs is absolutely critical in making sure you're buying the right amount of insurance.
How does a strata group or council go about collecting this insurance that is outstanding? You said the bill comes to the Strata Council. They cut the check. Now they've got to go and find the money that they just spent out of their kitty. They got to reimburse themselves. I don't imagine it's the most cooperative effort every time out.
Well, it becomes complicated when an owner doesn't have their own insurance policy to cover those amounts, right?
Okay.
Easy for a homeowner to phone their insurance company and say, hey, look, we've had a flood. We're going to be responsible for the $5,000 deductible.
Right.
My insurance covers up to a $5,000 amount. And again, on a homeowner's policy, you need to find out what your insurance actually will cover. You may have to buy additional insurance for the higher amounts. But so I just phone my insurance company. The insurance company pays the deductible cost to the Strata Corporation. I pay my smaller deductible share, which is generally $250 or $5,000 or $500.
Sure, yeah.
Based on $5,000 or $10,000. It's a much better deal than writing that check. And when you work it out, that's probably about 20 years worth of insurance I've just paid for by having had that policy. So economically, it's well within your interest. So that's the easy side. But what happens when an owner doesn't have homeowner insurance? and they don't have the $10,000 or the $25,000 to pay for the deductible.
And I suppose it gets complicated even more by perhaps the fact that they don't even feel like they're on the hook for it in the first place.
What will end up happening is the Strata Corporation, if they don't pay for it, is probably going to have to go to court and take some sort of action.
Oh, okay.
And they're probably going to have to do it fairly quickly, because things like damages or insurance claims that relate to damages have very clear limitation periods on that as to how long you can actually claim this and deal with this. So Strata Corporations can't just wait for the magical day that somebody sells their unit and they're going to try and collect it.
All right, out of the profits of the sale.
Out of the profits of the sale by withholding some of the real estate forms to get some undertakings that they're going to pay for it. They can't just do that. They need to deal with this positively in a very business-like manner up front. When you have a deductible, a person's responsible. If the owner has not paid the amount or their insurance hasn't covered it, you need to execute a collection process fairly expeditiously.
Is it also a tactic to place a lien on the property in the amount owing that will automatically or legally come off the top of whatever the sale generates?
Well, yes, except you
who wants to buy a place with a lien against it?
You can't lien for insurance deductibles or for damages or for bylaw violations, right? You can only lien for those items that the legislation says prescribes specifically. Strata fees, special levies, and of course you can lien for those items if there's work orders that are given by a local authority.
You're listening to Key Pacific's Talk About Strata. I'm Stirling Fox. Vancouver Province columnist Tony Gioventu is with us as well, wearing two hats, as is always the case on this broadcast. He's also the executive director of the Condominium Homeowners Association of BC. Tony, I move into a spiffy, ultra-secure downtown apartment condo place. I'm impressed by the whole thing. They've got cameras everywhere. I'm paying big bucks to live here. I park in the secure underground parkade. Overnight, my car is broken into in the secure underground video camera parkade, and somebody rips off the contents of my car. This is in my paid-for secure underground parkade. Is the Strata Council on the hook for the stuff that got ripped off out of my car?
Well, who does the car belong to?
Well, me.
It's your responsibility. It's not the Strata. The Strata Corporation has no insurable interest in your vehicle or your personal assets.
But they bragged about their secure parking and their fabulous security, this, that, and the other thing. That's one of the reasons I bought into the building.
Well, if the Strata Corporation has been neglectful in some way, and you can prove that there's been some act of neglect, you might be able to turn around at a later date with an action and maybe go to court to recover some of those losses. But it's your car, your insurance, your auto insurance. It may be an ICBC claim. It's your deductible, your responsibility. And unfortunately, that's the status of it. But the Strata can't assume all the shared liability for those things. Because think of it this way: why, if the insurance is a common expense and one person is driving a Mazda 323 that costs $9,500 and another person is driving a Maserati that's $250,000, why should everybody be paying for the differences in insurance?
So let's boil this down to, let's not be too taken in by some of the advertising about the security of certain strata complexes, because it may not be all that it's cracked up to be in law.
Well, Strata Corporation underground complexes for parking and for storage lockers and facilities for storage, they certainly have a very vast improvement in facilities and security, but nothing's 100% secure, because no matter what you do, the gates are still opening and closing throughout the day for people to access the buildings. And other than actually having security guards 100% of the time on all locations, the cost would be so prohibitive it's not possible. That's why we have insurance.
And more to come on insurance and Strata as we continue with Key Pacific's Talk About Strata after this.
Delivering relevant and beneficial consumer information. This is Experts on Call. And there's more still ahead on AM 650.